Old Godzilla was hopping around.
And hit Godzilla with a bat grenade.
I animated a cartoon when I was 14 years old with a guy named Neil Ciceriga, and he makes music, and we wrote this thing together. And then it became enormous.
This is the ultimate showdown of ultimate destiny. Good guys, bad guys, and explosions. As far as the eye can see, and only one will survive. I wonder who it will be. This is the ultimate showdown of ultimate destiny.
The premise was, like, I brought it to Neil saying, we gotta make something that the internet's gonna like a lot. So I say that we just like bring pop culture together, make pop culture fight itself. I've been doing it for maybe 2 years at that point, just playing around in pirated copies of Flash. I had just released something that was pretty popular called E-Bomb's World Sucks, which was about how E-Bomb's World would like steal content and then profit off of other people's work and then not take it down when people asked. Which was the start of both my animation and my activism. So I was like excited. I was like a little young boy who saw the number going up, and then there was like reviews. Most of the reviews were like, "This was the best thing I've ever seen in my whole life, and you are man god." And then the very fine minority was, "You suck. You are inhuman. You should probably kill yourself." And so, like being a child, the positive ones seemed to not really matter, and the ones that people told you that you were an inhuman monster for what you had created and that you didn't deserve what you had and so on, that was what would actually like resonate, and each one would resonate individually. Like the internet's a pretty brutal place for children, and I still kind of maintain that like we should have an uncensored internet for everyone above a certain age, and we have to work out what that age is.
Here at this nursery school, 3- and 4-year-old children are working very well with computers. Indeed, sometimes it seems that children work better with computers than adults do.
It was an enormous disconnect for the most part. Like I didn't really talk about it in my real life at all because of criticism, shame. Even though it was popular, I couldn't be proud of it because it didn't represent like my more like intellectual attempts at content creation. It was like meant in some senses not to like pander but have audiences.
This is the ultimate showdown.
Like I remember the first time that a kid at my school came up to me and was like, "Hey, like how do you spell your last name?" And I spelled it for him, and he's like, "Do you like go on the internet?" And I was like, "Well, yeah." He's like, "You ever make a cartoon?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I made that cartoon." And then like he never talked to me again. So that was like, for an entire year, that was like my only real life interaction about that. And I think I remember also some kids kind of like pointing me out to each other after that. Like the shame instead of pride, and the hiding or sequestering your online life away from your public life, I think is really common, not just among kids but like adults. And people look at the internet as a type of escapism, but at the same time they can come to it for like this ego validation where they're releasing content. So there's kind of a contradiction there, in that you want to have this like secret world where you're famous, but you don't want to have that leak into your regular life because it's just bizarre. And you know it's not real fame. You know it's not like the same thing that people talk about when they talk about fame and stuff like that. So it just causes this really bizarre contradiction in your head about your own self-image. But it makes me feel weird because it's not like it's not even really a part of my life actively at all anymore. And then, but when you Google my name, you're gonna find out all about it. I was always kind of like an internet underbelly kid, so it wasn't just like internet popularity that made me into a brutally critical asshole. That came from the internet as a whole, I think.
So basically you're saying data sharing is a basic human right. Am I getting that straight?
I think so, yes.
And why is that?
Well, essentially, all knowledge to everyone is a core part of my philosophy personally. I think that the more access to information we have, the more informed our decisions will be, and that does include, you know, television, movies, and music.
Also, I think that's a useful metaphor, the internet as a whole.